Not that we're doing anything yet. Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
Yeah. So it looks like once you started the event dropped from the list because right now Discord only shows 2 events.
Yeah, that's surprising to me too. And then it doesn't appear anywhere else. That does seem strange.
I'm looking around for it now. I don't see it like anywhere.
That's got to be a bug. I've seen events before where it told you it was going on so that other people, if they're glancing at this server, know something's going on, but now they have to scroll all the way down to see voice channel. So actually what I'm going to do now is oh, go ahead, Jeff. What were you going to say?
I think we should drop a message in one of the threads that here's where we are.
That's strange though, I mean, when you go to create an event, it's pretty pretty simple. I don't know if I seen a spot. Anyway, I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah, it's I've definitely seen the event ongoing, but then after the event's over, it disappears, and then you have this like invalid invite everywhere that it's mentioned, and so they got some things to work on, but overall I think it's a cool feature. Jeff, that's a great idea. Where do you mind dropping a link to this voice channel and wherever you think is appropriate?
All right, I'll go into the DevOps infra and also the project collab and drop a message from there.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to try playing this Spotify mix, which I think is.
I wonder, there's one thing in here I'm going to post to you. I'm just reading. I don't, it may mean nothing, but
No worries.
I just private message it to you.
Anyone new that comes into this Discord can look at the README file and have a pretty good idea that we are fairly active, right? So I think that's the main thing to at least communicate with the public that this Code with Friends group has a list of projects going on. So if they're interested to participate in any of those topics, that they could reach out to one of us whose Discord handle is on that table.
Yeah,
I mean that's pretty much it. And then each person who is handling those projects will have to have some kind of structure or protocol on how to manage your code, right, in GitHub. That I wouldn't know where we should refer some kind of guidelines, because I think each of those projects are very different. It's very different to build a chess program versus a reading app versus a programmer humor subreddit API project. They're all very different, and I'm sure each person or each group can decide how they wish to manage their code submission.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that we want to show the world that we're active. And for people to tell like what some ideas are going on, like what's being proposed. And I also
Yep.
think like this is, I mean, it's not a small thing. It's like having our interests out in the open, because instead of just in our heads, because it's not in everyone's heads. So sometimes it's nice to make things visible. And I try to know what people are interested in and then introduce other people, but it's not scalable. So I definitely appreciate having a process that's decentralized, that's like on the GitHub. And so, yeah, what you mentioned, I think there might be a few leaps in the user flow, but I think the general direction is good. Like, you know, let's say you're a new person and you come to the Discord server, like for a meetup. How do you find out the list of projects? And then let's say you're interested in a project, how do you contact the person who proposed the project? And then where does it go from there? Like, yeah, what's the ideal user experience? So I think there are a lot of missing steps, which is good. I mean, we have like a lot to work on. Hey, dude. We were just talking about project collaboration, and actually, yeah, I think all of us could sort of like simulate what a new user experience is, especially if you've never seen this link before. So I guess that's question number one, is like, how do you find the link to where the profiles are?
You mean the README file?
Yeah.
That should be on the meetup. I do not know how many different channels you've been using to promote the view. If maybe you can post a README page, or are we thinking of using GitHub pages to have an actual, like a single page website?
All ideas are open, so I mean that's up to you. You can ask the question, and then you can also, to ask the questions also is to propose it. So yeah, your question is
GitHub
already,
pages.
yeah.
Let's have a GitHub pages kind of become the front facing or the public facing, where everyone can go to get to the information.
Yeah, well, so Dispulic linked a custom domain name, and I think requested that we host it on a branch called GH Pages. I don't know what else is required. So it's a Vite website, and the website that we've been working on, Jeff and John, on like Friday nights for the past couple of Friday nights, that's at codewithfriends.dev. So all of you can, anyone in the public can go to codewithfriends.dev. It's not widely advertised yet, but it doesn't have a link there yet. So that could be a GitHub issue. So I'm wanting to use GitHub issues for project tracking. It's just like a ticket, just like Jira. And we can create things that, like tasks that are ready for people to do. So they should have some description and context about what it is, and then people can assign them to themselves. And this is a slightly unrelated topic, but it's like, if people show up and they want to contribute, they could think like, what needs to be done? And what Jeff did was he just, read the meeting notes from last time where a bunch of people proposed things to do, which I think is great. And all of us can do that, of course. So if you're wanting to pick up something, you have some time, or you met a new friend and you want to try pair programming, then you can just pick up a ticket or look at the meeting notes. But the meeting notes are kind of long, so I think it's if you even want to carve out a ticket for someone else to do, then that's a great contribution to the project. So I know there's like a lot of steps there. And so I'll go to, this is the GitHub repo. And I'm screen sharing, so if you can't see my screen or if something is invisible, feel free to let me know. And I'm recording this to Zoom, and I'm getting quite a bit better about like stopping the recording and stopping the screen share whenever I'm about to reveal something sensitive, so we can just upload it straight without too much editing. So this is the repo. It has a readme.md, and I will create, so what was the issue we were talking about? It was a task that was it to create was it to host on GitHub Pages, or was it, can someone remind me, what was the proposal that we were talking about?
Do we have GitHub Pages?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. How would we know? So if it would be, we go to settings, we go to pages. Oh, so this is something that Displux set up. And I haven't used this setting before, so this is new, but you can, in the pages for the repo settings, there's a branch GH pages, and you can just serve whatever's in root. And I don't know if we've built and committed what was in Vite. Like Vite is a static website builder. And so we can just like click where it says your site is live. Oh, nice. Okay, so this is, yeah, this is the same site we've been working on. It's at codewith.company, but it's also at codewithfriends.dev. It's okay that the same website, anytime you commit a change to it, it'll, well, that's a good question. I don't know whether it'll rebuild the website, but it does make it easier to host. One of them is on GitHub's servers. That's codewith.company. And then this one, codewithfriends.dev, is on an AWS server that we have to explicitly pull the changes and then build it, and then it's being served with Nginx. So the GitHub Pages way is a lot easier because it's like automatically deploying after you commit on, but it's on GH pages. So I think, yeah, that's a question is, do we have to build the page before it shows up on GH pages branch?
Is it being redirected right now?
If you go to codewith.company, it will host off of GitHub Pages.
Okay.
Is that what you're asking?
So the DNS server has been set to go to code the AWS.
There
Is that what it's
are
doing?
two websites, but they're serving the same code. One is the AWS server that we've been working on, and one is GitHub Pages, which is GitHub's own server for serving static pages. So any GitHub repo has its own like built-in pages because it was so common. So like any repo that you start on your own projects, and then also our website, which is it's just a repo, all of them have built-in GitHub Pages. And usually it's something like .github.io. Like if you type code with friends, well, that's a good question. What is it? If the repo has a dot in it, does the dot appear in the host name as well? So that's not quite it, but I think that's because Dispulic registered this code with .company, but other websites, if you go to like your username .github.io, well, that's not it either, but I mean, there are GitHub pages out there and they end in .github.io. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Like, have you done this before? You've gone to a page and it ends in .github.io.
I have not.
Yeah, if you deploy it should.
Okay, yeah. So Duke has been working on projects and committing it to the repo. Actually, yeah, Duke, you have projects. Let's look at some Duke's projects.
242.
Yeah. Oops, that's a
let
code
me think
sandbox.
of one that's already deployed. Go to. Let me find the one that's deployed in a second. Pages. There should be one ring deployed. Inventories. Inventory library part deployed. Crypto you can use. You want to check the GitHub website. Do go to the to-do list. So it's Duke 242
Mhm.
.github.io / oh yeah, okay, keep the / to-do list. TODO list. Try capitalizing the T and the D. Well, if that matters, that might be why.
Yeah, it is. That's true. In the web standard, it is still a Unix standard, but maybe your username also has to be uppercase.
Oh, the L? Wait.
The D in Duke, maybe.
I put the
Well, wouldn't that fine? Mine's just working. Oh, but it's not though.
I
Duke.
put the link in the
Just go
chat.
to the press repositories and go to do list then.
Yeah. Ryan, did you say you got it to work?
Yeah, I put the link in the chat.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the GitHub
No.
link. We want the hosted page, right?
Oh, my bad.
That's okay.
But
Yeah, you said the GitHub.
yeah, we pressed the to-do list crypto. Press the one on the right
Oh,
under
perfect.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought for sure that's what I typed. Oh, there it is. Okay, nice.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna type tasks is
This was the moment where I wasn't really concerned with design, but rather with functionality. So it looks very bland.
yeah. So design how to find well, I'm just gonna say link
Wait a minute.
programming interests readme.md to.
Also, I do not think this is hooked up to a database. So this will not save. I don't think so.
That's okay. So let's see, there's a description and there's a due date. There are two fields. I guess one is the title, one is the description. So and, you know, due of December of last year. We'll make it due. Today. Nice. That's pretty cool. Did you do this in React?
In the say that again in the app.
Did you do this in React?
Oh, React. No, this was just plain JavaScript.
Okay. Cool. Well, I guess the main point here is to show because that GitHub, every GitHub repo
Yeah.
is hosted on a website that is a subdomain of github.io. So this is, and it looks like it's the GitHub's username, github_username.github.io/ and then the repo name, which is case sensitive, but everything before it, the host name is not case sensitive. So that's interesting. And what I did was not uppercase the D also, so that's why it wasn't loading, but now it does. So I guess like that's, if you never used this feature before, it's pretty cool. You can use any repo that you have, and it's an easy way of hosting. You don't need to spin up AWS and do all the stuff that I personally enjoy doing, but is a lot. So this makes it easy to try things out, and you can also map this
for static websites, like GitHub hosting.
Yeah, well, I guess we can say by static, it means like there's no
Right.
database backend that's dependent. Like everything you need is built into like the hosted JavaScript files and CSS files and HTML files are all bundled together. So that's an example, and then if you have a custom domain, like here, you can specify something else that maps to it, but we can also try. Our organization is called Detroit Code with Friends. So this is just a test here. We can try saying Detroit Code with Friends, case insensitive.github.io / codewithfriends.dev. Oh, and it redirects. Okay, so that's. Hey, Mari.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, we're talking about the programming profile. So this is something that Hunter proposed, and we wrote in the meeting notes, community meeting notes, and then Jeff read it and took the initiative to add it to the README file. So that's great. And the question is, like, if you're a new member or an old member, any kind of member, and you just show up and you want to know what are people interested in, and how can I participate? Like, how can I join? And who should I talk to? And so people did point out that the list contains the list of projects and then also Discord usernames. And it's not clear that they're Discord usernames, perhaps, and then it's also not clear where to find it in general. So I guess there are a couple of places we can put it, but it is hosted using GitHub pages at codewith.company. And then also we talked a little bit about how all GitHub repos have this built-in static page host name, which is the username or the organization name. Our organization is Detroit Code with Friends, but it can also be, Amari8.github.io or Duke242. All of you guys have cool, like, early 90s numbers at the end of your name. I should really just like, that's how you know you're legit, because like you go to your name and then you're like, there's like 7 other Amaris got to it before me. I thought I was special. But then the rest of them don't commit anything to their repo, so you win in the end. GitHub.io code friends.dev, and then it's also at codewithfriends.dev, which Dispulic doesn't like because there's not enough periods or dashes or whatever.
One idea is maybe to make a announcements channel that's locked for posting and just put the link in there, maybe.
Yeah, that's good. So you're a member of other channels, servers, and they have an announcement channel,
Mhm.
and put like pinned messages. That's kind of what you meant, right? Like we can post.
Yeah,
Kind of make an announcement channel and then pin the most critical pieces to the top there, otherwise it can be used to just relay information.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to propose that we can use GitHub issues to carve out tasks that are ready to do, so that someone can pick them up, assign them to themselves, and then request code review or close and merge. So I'm just going to create this GitHub issue right now. So this is the repo for the website. There's a list of issues, and I guess I'm kind of abusing this because we're not tracking things just for the website, but so like the link to the readme.md file are programming interests. Okay, and where was that link? It was, I put it in programming project collab. Yeah, and then while I'm here, let's give Dispulik his code review. So it's readme.md. That's a cool ringtone.
Yeah, that's me.
If you were in your own class, Amari, what would you do to a student whose phone rang? I'm kidding. This is not class, but
I'm turning the ringer off.
confiscate and detention. I get it.
Yes.
Okay, so anyone who feels like doing this and who has admin permissions, which is like 4 people in this meeting right now, and others on the way, all you have to do is just keep doing great participation, and eventually someone will be like, hey, like you're not an admin yet, and then they'll just make you an admin. And then there's a secret admin only channel, and once we trust that you're not going to torch the whole thing for the insurance money, you'll get added, and then you can see like all our passwords, but they're not like super valuable passwords. They're like our Gmail account and our the Discord owner account, and yeah, that's all. So someone with admin permissions.
Did you list the current admins?
Yes, and in some servers they're listed, they have a special list on the right. We haven't done it by role, but I'll list it here. So and I think that's it. Oh, and me. Yeah. Yeah, so just people who have been on the server the longest and who participated the most, and it changes over time. And eventually this is maybe a good discussion for another time. You know, we want to be a nonprofit and we want to hold elections. And I think, Jeff, you said you had some experience with nonprofits before, or maybe someone else here also has experience with nonprofits. I don't, but I'm like, how hard could it be? You form an LLC, you find a board of directors, and then you like file it. I filed other LLCs with the state of Michigan. It takes like $25, and you can use this boilerplate agreement off of like LegalZoom. Yeah, we don't control anything super valuable, but it's just like a nice step. And then,
Hey guys.
hey,
Hey,
welcome. Well, I think enough people are on here now. Yeah, let's do a round of
How
introductions.
what does this button do?
Uh-oh, getting bomber vibes here. Yeah.
What does that do?
That's the one that kicks you from the server. So
Oh, well, I'm not seeing.
comes back, does the same thing. We'll ban them. So hey, Kenny J. Well, anyway, that was very appropriate because hopefully it wasn't triggering to too many people. I was really triggered the first time I got bombers, but it will happen if you.
How does that even happen? I gotta ask. Anyway,
Well, it's a public link listed on the meetup, and so there are people who just like crawl through public meetings.
okay, I didn't know that part, okay, understand.
And it's just let's see. And if I should do this, delete the message manager I'm seeing. Okay, 10 messages blocked. I'd have to delete them individually. So that as the admins, when we open up our server to, well, I guess there are two things. One is to become a nonprofit. I think that's cool because then we can accept donations. We can have members, hold elections. It should probably be the meetup. The whole thing, we should turn over to people who actually live in Detroit. So yeah, I was going to do introductions. Welcome to my ADD. So we'll go around and introduce ourselves. And if you are from or live in or near Detroit, please give a shout because you're the ones who are the most important who will meet with other meetup members. We have over 1,600 members in Detroit who love code and want to meet up with people who live nearby. And we want to have in-person meetups again. So my name is Paul. I sadly do not live in Detroit. My house is in shambles and I've decided not to live in it currently, but I'm up north in Linwood. And what do I like learning right now? I want to learn more about 3JS and 3D things. And then also I'm very slowly making progress on the online pair programming website that I started with John Herrera and Jeff. Who would like to go next?
I can go. My name is Jeff. I am located just north of Detroit, in the suburb here, and my interest is mostly DevOps related. So creating pipelines and automation using Jenkins and GitHub Actions, if that's enabled in our repo. Also monitoring, such as Prometheus, Grafana, and those kind of things. Also interested in better usage of APIs, and that's why I proposed the Programmer Humor Little Fun project in the Code with Friends channel there. Yeah, I have kind of joined Paul and John for a few weekends, putting together the Jitsi and the Xterm interface on the codewithfriends.dev webpage. And looking forward to do more of that. I definitely enjoyed being the driver, having someone navigate. That's how I learn best. Having someone navigate so that I can do the typing. That's about it. I'll pass it on to the next person.
Great, thanks, Jeff. And also, it's good to say that you like to drive. I mean, we might ask people to switch roles, like the navigator and the driver, just because both are necessary. But it's rare to find even people who want to drive. Duke also, I think, has done a great job driving, like asking people to navigate for him and to learn in public. So learning in public can be scary if you haven't done it before. And yeah, so thanks for mentioning it. And yeah, we'll turn it over to someone else.
I can go next. My name's Ryan. I'm about 40 minutes west of Detroit, over in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I've done some DevOps stuff, but that was years back. And I've been more an SRE, the paperwork kind, and not so much hands-on keyboard. So it's nice to hear these DevOps words again. It's nice to be involved again, really. It is scary to see how much has changed, how much new stuff is out there, and everything I've learned in the past is pretty much out the door. But it's nice that there's a community here. I'm more of a corporate bobblehead, right? So I'm like, I need a project manager. I need this, I need that, right? I'm not used to working in a community space, so it is different. I feel like I'm doing something wrong continuously. I'm not gonna lie, because I just don't know what to do. But it sounds like altogether we're coming up with a structure and ways forward, and make announcements more visible and stuff like that. So I do think it'll get easier, and I'm really here to learn and share what I think, but maybe what I don't know, and maybe I do have value I could add. And only time will find out. But it's good to be here with others. Thank you.
Same. It's good to be here with you too.
And for like driver and all that, I'm like a confidence type person, right? So if I have like that confidence, I will go out there and make a fool out of myself live in front of everyone. But I gotta have a little bit of confidence there. So together, I think we'll.
Great. So Ryan is willing to be the driver if we get him drunk first.
I haven't drank in 2 years. That's a little side.
All right, I'm joking. I'm joking. If we give him
no big deal. It's not a big deal. But.
If we give him liquid confidence,
Cookies. I am addicted to sugar.
Cookie confidence.
Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. How about our new friend?
I guess I can go.
Oh yeah, Duke. Let's hear from Duke.
I'll make it short and quick. My name's Duke. I go by Duke, my nickname. Live nearby Detroit, not too far, but not super close either. Things that interest me. I think you'd be better off finding something that doesn't interest me. Usually just if I introduce myself to a topic, it'll pique my interest and I'd want to dive in deeper. But I do love learning from people who have done something that I want to do, taking in their wisdom. Excellent. Thank you for listening.
Great. Duke has been learning the most in public. He's been going through the Odin project, and so a lot of great repos on his profile, Duke 242. You'll see links to it in a lot of places as well. So feel free to deploy it and or ask him about it.
I can attest to this community. I mean, for few people, I mean, very helpful community. I don't think I'd be where I'm at. I'd get a few bugs and get stuck for such a long time. You need someone that already knows what they're doing to like look at it, make your life much easier to get through them so quickly.
Yeah, well, at some point we all didn't know what we were doing also. And sometimes we disagree,
Sure.
but yeah, having two sets of eyes on something is a great engineering technique. There's a saying, many eyes make all bugs shallow, which means, like bugs or programming defects can't hide if there are a bunch of people staring at it. Or you can, imagine the bugs are more afraid of you than you are of it. Just imagine it wearing its underwear and other personal development advice like that. But good, that's where pair programming gets another set of eyes on it. And Mari, I think you're
Okay, hey.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm Amari. My name is in my handle there. I am AR. Okay, it's Amari. And yeah, I'm I don't have a super strong area of focus because I'm still in kind of a learning everything phase. I joined this group kind of near the beginning of when I was starting to learn coding, and like I can confirm Duke's assessment. It's been really essential in helping me progress and stay on it, gain confidence, solve problems, and just, having a community of people is just it's almost essential. Learning is a social activity. So having people to help with that's great. I've been focused on learning React and just basically how to build sites, so, including API stuff. So yeah, I like to see things I build. So I'm really focused on like front end development type of work. And I'm interested in learning, using tech for learning, all the applications for that, which is why this is interesting too. It's coding with friends. It's about getting people together to learn from each other. And I've also developing this interest in e-commerce type building, like Shopify store building. I've been kind of dealing with that on the side a little bit. Seems like a useful skill, possibly. Yeah, and that's about it. I'm in Dearborn, Michigan, a little south of Detroit. So I'm in Detroit area all the time. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Amari. And then our new friend, if you don't mind saying a few words about yourself, I'm gonna pronounce it Fwef2W. What is a way of making that in phonetic?
I believe he said he didn't have audio earlier, didn't he?
Oh, you're right. Good call. He gave away all his microphones, which is a good problem to have. Is it a problem? Do people?
Well, oh, he has audio.
Well,
Okay,
he can hear. I think that's what he means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understand.
No worries. That's okay. I know you introduced yourself in the channel earlier. Can you say, I guess, a few words now that you've heard from everyone? Can you say a few words about what that brings up for you? And yeah, just a few words, and I'll afterwards I'll repeat what I remember from our conversation too. Yeah, if you don't mind, you can type. So he's typing in the voice channel chat, the pair programming 1 chat. It's the speech bubble on the far upper right. If you click on it and say show chat. That's right. He wants to learn cybersecurity. Yes, he has a lot of experience with SQL, which is distinctive. You're the only one who has logged onto the server and said that they know like SQL well. So that's a really useful skill. And Oracle too, very profitable skill. That's like yeah, that and Shopify. That's like saying like, oh, I'm interested in Salesforce. I don't know if you can make money doing it, but someone, it's a great curiosity. No, these are all great skills to have. Brian R., who's not with us, sadly, not because he's dead, but because he's just not here. He's done a lot with SQL Postgres and his Next.js app. He's been doing a lot of great learning. And he had a SQL question, so maybe at some point that would be a good matchup. Team up, that's what I'm looking for. Team up, right? Like a cop buddy show.
Yeah, we definitely need a lot of knowledge in the database arena. Even MongoDB. MongoDB is very popular.
Yeah, that's right. And I think Duke has used Mongo and the node library for it, Mongoose, in one of his own project. Yeah. And then Dispulic is interested in learning Neo4j, which is a graph database, which is a new kind of database that stores relationships like graphs and edges instead of tables in a table format. And it's query language cipher. So I think there's a lot of interest in databases. Good. And well, in moving along in the time that we have left, I would like to practice updating the profile because, you know, again, pretend that you're a member of this server by becoming a member of the server. So yeah, you're all members and you want to see what people are interested in. And I guess I'm going to propose a complementary activity. Given what you know and what's been typed in the notes about people's interests, can you add to someone's profile description describing them? And it's just a activity. So if you think, if you have concerns about it or you want to tweak it and do something like slightly different, the intent is sort of to reflect back what you've heard someone else say. And instead of editing the file directly, so if you can see my screen share, it is readme.md, and a lot of you already have write access. If you don't, just drop me your GitHub username and we can add it. And it's in readme.md, but instead of editing it directly by clicking this pencil icon, fork it and create a pull request, which is kind of the open source way. So it's kind of you request, it's called a pull request because you're requesting someone to incorporate your code instead of like pushing, which it seems aggressive and it may not be welcome, but you know, pull requests are always, you can always do it and you can have a conversation, you can attach a thread to your commits, and the committers can decide to incorporate it or not. So
Can you navigate to the branch and show?
So there's no, yeah, there's no branch, like we're just using the main branch, but you can fork without, you should fork off the main branch. I think that's pretty uncontroversial for me to say. If you're in a project and I guess if you don't need to work for a particular version, which we don't, we're too simple of a project, you just fork off the main branch. So you go here and then you click fork. Someone else has already forked it, which is Dispulic's. I'm going to create a fork now, but before I do it, I'll just paste a link in here. So I'll just say, please fork this repo. And then it's going to create a repo of the same name, codewithfriends.dev, but under your personal GitHub account as the owner. So mine is CryptoGoth. I haven't changed it. I haven't rebranded as Lifelong Learner yet, but I'm going to try and do that everywhere. So you'll see that for you. And then the checkbox says copy the main branch only. Yeah, you don't want to copy a bunch of other branches. Like we said, this is too simple. There are no branches that have any significant features or meaning. So you click create. Hopefully it'll show you this great animation of like a fork and a photocopier. No, it's too good. It used to, they used to do that. Let me see if GitHub fork animation. Really, it's really sad if they, yeah, it was this one, and I want it in Jiffy form, please. Well, you know, someone has it in Jiffy form somewhere. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Fwef2W says you're not able to see my screen because it's loading indefinitely. Can other people see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't had a problem.
Yeah, well, let me send you a Zoom link because you might like that better. Okay, so other than getting sidetracked about it animated, I saw it. Okay, I can't get it to do it again. Oh my God, I'm losing my shit now. Okay. Anyway, so cool. So fork it and then close some tabs. If you have chronic tab syndrome like me, keep closing tabs. And okay, so you forked it and then now you can edit. So now it's okay, just click the pencil icon. And there are rows. So in Markdown, a row has fields which are separated by the vertical bar, the pipe character. And it's in plain text, but you can switch back and forth with the preview tab. And pick someone who is not you. Oh, hey, Moose. Moose has joined us on Zoom. It's connecting to audio and can't hear me yet. Well, give us a message, Moose, in case you can't see it on Zoom also. And I'm also recording it, which I know is not a lot of comfort if you have to watch it later, but we try to cover multiple bases. So I guess people shout out or volunteer and call out the name of someone whose profile you want to update based on what we shared today. And I will do, I'll do Moose. So I volunteer to update Moose's profile.
Oh no, this is like a pop quiz. Who was paying attention?
Yeah, I apologize. I'm kind of I'm a teacher through and through. So sometimes I come up with very pedagogical exercises for
This will be one of them.
for everything. Yeah. It's so there are notes on the that's right. There I typed up some notes in the voice channel chat. So again, the speech bubble in the top right. If you open that, you can scroll back and see some of the notes to prompt your memory. Not all at once, guys. Come on, you can do this. Who volunteers to?
All right, I'll volunteer.
Okay, great. Who do you volunteer to cover?
So I'll do FWE.
Okay, great.
Do they have a? Let me look at the README. So they're not on here yet.
No, Moose is new, so I think Moose just joined today.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He's new.
Okay, so that's Moose. That's right, Moose.
Uh-huh.
All right, so I've got it open on my local fork of this.
Great.
Should I share my screen? Want me to share my screen while I'm doing?
Yeah. I'll stop my
It's
share.
a useful idea.
Yeah. And then while you're doing it, can other people volunteer to update someone else's profile? So Duke, Jeff, Ryan, each of you volunteer to do one other person. And I know it'll work out magically. This is like Secret Santa. So it's just a permutation.
I just don't know what to do. What do I update and where?
Great. No, these are all awesome questions. This is This is what every member is going to go through, and it's not the best procedure yet, but it is the README file. So you fork. So you go to,
Right, I got that part, but I don't know what data I update. You see what I'm saying? Like, who do I, I profile like someone, I know F2W said something about firewalls today. There's another one that introduced themselves, said they did DevOps work in the past, or maybe even currently. Is that what you're looking for? Is that their profile update? Like, what did I learn about them today or something?
yeah, I guess specifically what they're interested in and what they would like to pair program on. So, and Amari, you can watch Amari's screen share. He'll show you the markdown that he's editing. But he volunteered to do FWEF 2W, which is Moose. So then he's taken. So just like in Secret Santa, you got to pick someone else other than yourself. So when you were mentioning someone who used to do DevOps, you were describing yourself. Those are notes I typed about you,
No,
which is
there
great.
was a person that spoke that said the same. I don't remember who it was.
Oh, you're right. You're right. No, that was Jeff. So do you want to volunteer to update Jeff's profile?
That's on line 31.
Yeah. Brian, I know I'm basically volunteering you at this point, but can you volunteer to update Jeff's profile?
Sure, and what would, okay, what's the update, like on 4:30, I learned this about him or something, or what's the content, the update, what's it? See what I mean?
Yeah, it would
Jeff
be
Page.
updating anything that he said, that any technology that he said he's interested in, especially, yeah, you can just,
And
yeah, that's right. And you can even ask him, when you're having a conversation, I can just say like, hey, Jeff, are you still interested in the Reddit, the subreddit Programmer Humor API? And Jeff could say like, no, I'm over that. That was a million years ago. And then you can say, okay, I'll remove it from the profile.
Or even this update saying that that I'm located in Detroit. So anything is
Oh yeah,
fine.
you're right. You can add the location. And I know we're all internet anons here, so we don't want to reveal our meet space coordinates because we're going to get doxxed. But you can just vaguely say, in Detroit. I think people are revealed what they're comfortable having shown in
I'm
public.
fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with you putting in there that I'm in Detroit. I think Detroit is big enough.
Yeah, great. And then that will let people, I guess, like think about what would make you want to pair program with someone. Maybe you don't want to. I hope not. There are a lot of things to cover beforehand. What if your interests are different, or what if the person is mean? But several of you mentioned you like driving or navigating, and so that means you like pair programming. So what would make you want to pair program someone that you just met on the internet? And the city, I think, helps. So if someone is in Detroit, you're like, oh, they're only a few miles away from me. So even if we don't meet up, it's still nice to know someone in your city. Big shout out to the D. And then you're in the same time zone. You have that in common. And then you can talk about how much you like Square Pizza and driving cars and going to Lions games. So you have something in common. That's like, I guess, easier to start the conversation. But I mean, that's interesting. I guess if you knew someone was in Antarctica or something, that would make me want to pair program with them for sure. I'd be like, oh, that's super cool. Like they're probably at McMurdo Research Station doing cool research, or maybe they're stranded, or they got a cool story, or they're super bored because it's eternal night and during the summertime. So yeah, the city is a great thing to add.
So question, after the person's name and then their Discord address here or user profile, after that and after the next pipe, that's where we start writing about what their interests are and what they're using.
Yeah, every pipe is a new field. So there's a first pipe at the beginning of the line. There's their Discord username inside square brackets. So that makes it a link in Markdown. And then the link display content is in the square brackets. And then the link target is in the parentheses. And this must be Dispula. You know, he's definitely smart enough to get the user ID and to know. I don't know where he got that URL. You don't have to get their user ID. We could fill it in later. But that's what's in the parentheses. You can just put, you know, you can leave it if it's there. If you don't know it, if it's a new user like Moose, then you can just leave it blank. We'll fill it in later. Then there's a second pipe, a vertical bar, and then afterwards, that's the longest text description. So that's when you can add what you're asking Amari, like all the interests. You know, you can separate by commas. Yeah.
It's a 2-column table, basically.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. It's a 2-column table. So then it keeps going. You can have any number of commas that you want because it's not comma separated. And then you see a vertical bar at the end, which ends that row. And exactly, if you look up on line 23, you can see that it's a 2-column table. The first column is member name, and the second column is interests or proposed projects.
And the next two are that's just a space. That's just like a separator.
Right. If you
on 24, that's like just a visual separator.
Exactly. If you click to preview and look at the table, I think it's those lines that make them a header row. That's a good question. So if I
don't think I preview.
If you're editing it in GitHub by clicking the pencil icon, then you have 2 tabs. One is the edit file and one is called preview. And you can flip back and forth between them. And I think that row with dashes is necessary in order to make it a valid table, because I take it out and it totally borks the table. So
Okay.
So yeah,
This is a really good exercise to do forking of a repo and also practice, you know, committing, doing a pull request and committing for someone to approve it. So it's a good exercise.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree.
Yeah.
I am gonna have to drop, and I'll see you all again tomorrow for the WebSocket exercise.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining us, Jeff. We'll post the recording later so you can see what you missed.
Awesome. Take care. Bye.
Later. So I know Moose doesn't have a microphone, and hey, Moose, if you want, maybe you could just put some specific stuff in the chat that you'd like me to put on your profile, just your interest in technology. Okay, cool. And I'll put that in there.
And Duke, can you volunteer to do update Ryan's profile? I don't think it's on there yet. So yeah, you get to create a whole new row. You can copy and paste someone else's row and just change the Discord username to Vandy, which is Ryan's Discord name. And then I'm going to copy his user ID and send it to you. Is that okay?
So I gotta create my own branch or something to.
Nope. You just you got to fork it, but you fork the main branch. So you
okay.
check the box that says only copy the main branch. You don't need to pick up the other branches. Duke, you're muted, so I can't hear you if you're trying to say something, unfortunately. But it's okay if you are saying something and you're like, go to hell, Paul. I don't want to do it. This is a dumb exercise and you're dumb and the world is dumb. That's a valid feeling. That's okay. Most problems are normal. I would say it's like a rare. The time when there are no problems, that's rare. That's when you gotta watch out. That's when you know that you're in a holographic simulation. If you can say more about your problem, then or type more about your problem, we might be able to help you with it. Oh, Duke is deafened his sound and muted. Yeah, maybe he's away. So that's okay. I'll do Ryan. And yeah.
And so I see, I'm looking at these pipes in here. I see 1, 2, 3 pipes, and that makes the 2 columns, the 3 pipes.
That's right. That's right. The space in
Like
between
the
the
last
pipes.
pipe is like closes. Okay. I got it.
Ryan, can I say you're in Ipsy or should I say near Detroit?
Oh, it don't matter.
Okay. I'm gonna say that you've written page scrapers and Discord bots before. I know that. I know you got skills. So I'm gonna give a shout out to them. And
Yeah, a lot of automate, I don't know, just a lot of, system administration, automation, stuff like that. Not the fun type, you know what I mean? Like the corporate boring Excel macros and stuff, boring stuff.
yeah, well, your stuff, things that seem boring to you, especially if you've done them for a while, can be still like, so it could be someone's dream job. Excel macros. I know we're really pushing the definition of a dream job there. I guarantee you someone out there is like, if you pay me to learn and write Excel macros, I've like died and gone to heaven. Those are someone's exact thoughts as they cry themselves to sleep tonight because
Well, with
yeah.
Office 365 and that whole that whole thing that is coming to get, I think it's gonna be useful again. I really do. Everything's gotta talk to each other.
Oh no, Moose isn't able to see any of our shares because of Linux. That's very strange. It's like maybe Linux needs to load a special driver or needs some special video acceleration for screen shares. That's altogether possible. Like I'm amazed Zoom works on Linux at all.
So yeah, I see now how to get the link for Discord for a person.
Mhm.
It's just when you take discord.com/users/ then their ID number. So you can just right click on their profile there and copy their ID. And that's the last part of the path.
Nice. And it probably works. Like if you preview the link and you see the blue links, and then
I'm gonna do it.
if you click on one or you right click and choose open a new tab. Oh, it works.
Oh, that was weird.
This guy, did it work for you?
No, I tried to open. I don't know. It didn't like go to my browser. Let me just pop it in here and see what happens. Moose's number. Well, that's not
I'm
doing
looking
anything.
at FWE screen share and I'm waiting for my screen to load, not knowing that that's really his screen waiting to load.
Oh man, it's multiple levels of screens waiting to load. That's I feel like we could make up a paradox and name it after some famous philosopher. It would be like, oh, that's the old Carl Sagan paradox. Who's waiting for, or it's the Godot paradox. Who's waiting for whom? Godot's waiting for you, and you're waiting for Godot. And you know Docker, don't you, Ryan? Can I put that down?
I've never,
No.
I know it, I can tell you I know it, I know some of what it does, but I've never used it. I'm interested.
Okay, I'll write down you're interested in Docker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kubernetes, Docker, right? Aren't they all in the same arena?
Yeah, no, Kubernetes is great. I want to learn Kubernetes too.
But they're containers, right? Or Docker's more containers, Kubernetes is less container, or I'm not sure, I'm just
I
rambling.
think Kubernetes like manages, like ties all your containers together.
Okay,
Like handles like the communication between all your containers.
sure. Yeah, and I guess you could put Discord bots as an interest as well. I mean,
Oh, I did. I put that
Oh,
first.
okay.
I put that you've written, not even just as an interest, that you've written page scrapers and Discord bots, and that you even more than that, I'll get you in trouble with Discord. I'll write down that you know how to fake a user with a bot, like you know how to use a user token
Like,
for your bot.
anybody that created that Python script that I run to do that, like they've all been wiped off, like all the creators of it, their profiles are gone off GitHub, the package, the whole, everything's missing. It's all missing. I don't know what happened to them.
Oh man, you're using a forbidden technique. You're like, I found it in this old scroll that was falling apart, and now the scroll is gone. I went back to the curio shop, and the old Asian man who sold it to me is no longer there. And
I swear I went and looked again today. I looked at the people, the project, everything's gone.
but you have a local
Yeah,
working
I got
copy.
it. Yeah, I got it.
Oh, all right.
It's
Ryan's
back
got
up.
Ryan is
No,
his
but
own.
they got way better ones now. That Discord.js, that's the same thing, and that's probably the better way to do it nowadays. I have it. I just haven't like started digging in and doing it.
Okay, so I clicked save. I finished my profile. It's okay if you're not done either, but you don't have to be super detailed. The exercise is just to type a few characters.
I forked it and then I made a pull request and then I uploaded. I just
Whoa,
added Jeff.
you're done.
I don't know how it all. I don't know how to. I just pushed it from my fork to whatever.
Yeah.
So I gotta push it after that.
So if you've saved it to your fork, and if you edit it on the website, it's already pushed. It's already there remotely. If you did it on your desktop locally, then you do need to push.
Right. No, I did it through the website just because I don't have all my tokens and stuff.
That's okay. Great. And then let's see. I think
I don't know if I even created my branch correct. I don't even know where I'm at in life anymore.
Great. These are all. This is the human condition. I don't know whose shirt I'm wearing. I don't know whose house this is.
I'll be honest, I have used Git a lot in my experience, but not so much forks and pull requests and all that. We played more the Wild Wild West way, where it was kind of hope someone doesn't overwrite your commit in the process.
Yeah, don't worry. I've seen like professional software teams where they're like saying, pull my changes now. Oh, merge conflicts, pull again. So,
Yeah, when I
Yeah.
did my hardcore DevOps stuff, I was with a company with a team of 5. So the company size was 5. So I didn't have many people writing, to our main repo.
yeah. I mean, all uses, we'll figure it out, but these are questions that all of us have to struggle with. Like whatever you're feeling, a new member who's coming in who wants to join the project and wants to learn Git, they're going to be thinking these same things. They're going to maybe like watch this video, probably at 2x speed, probably like giving us AI, more entertaining AI voices. Who knows? I don't think this is going to be all over TikTok, but yeah, they're going to be wanting to know if they did it right too. I'm recording my screen and only occasionally looking at Amari's, but it looks like Amari is still.
Well, okay, so I had to commit my pull
Yeah.
request, right? So I committed it, right? So I think now it should show up on your radar.
So you committed it, but then
Oh.
now if you on the website.
It's a review required, yeah, now I think it's,
Oh, nice. Okay.
I think I got it right. I don't know.
So about making the pull request. So I'm at that part.
Mhm.
So how does that work from the command line, or should I do it some other way?
That's a good question. Maybe you can do it from the command line now. I wouldn't doubt it. They have their own command line tool called GH for GitHub that lets you do everything you would do on the web through the command line. The easiest way is to go to the repo. Have you pushed? Oh yeah, so push, you can git push and then it'll, if you type git push and then press enter, it will probably tell you that it needs to like link an upstream to this branch, which is totally fine. Go ahead and press enter and no, it looks like you have good defaults. Like you're gonna, you see where it says main arrow main, it means it's gonna push. It's automatically gonna make the remote main the upstream of your local main. The upstream is just the remote branch. Well, that's a good question.
Okay.
There are a lot of upstreams.
So, but it pushed.
It pushed,
Right.
and so now if you go to your GitHub repo, the fork of your website. Oh, someone's looking at Kali exploits.
Yeah, I was looking at that because that was something Moose had mentioned that they're interested in. So
Yeah.
I just put a link in the profile to it.
Oh, nice.
So all right, so I'm in the repo. I'm in my fork.
Did you refresh or?
I did not. There you go.
And then,
Okay. Sorry. So
That's okay.
so it's
what would I do?
So I guess like you can cancel these changes because we want to see the changes that were pushed from your laptop, your computer. And if you made any changes here, they might overwrite. You might have like conflicts. So
Oh yeah, I didn't make any change. This is just already on edit because
oh, you can cancel.
We're
Yeah.
looking at it.
You can cancel then.
Cancel.
Yeah.
Does that by having, just a random question, without having that cancel clicked, was there like a lock somewhere? You know what I mean? Like, was it kind of an open file, you think?
That's a good
I
question.
clicked the pencil and it just put it in edit
I don't
mode.
know.
So
Yeah, it's just rambles for me, just random senseless stuff.
yeah, but Paul,
It
if I had saved it, it might have had some conflict because I just pushed and then saved. I don't know what happened, but it might have caused some. problem, maybe.
Yeah, well, Ryan,
That's the rabbit holes I
your-
get stuck in, I'm sorry.
your question pointed to an earlier version control system. So in the ancient days, when I was learning to code, I used a version control system called CVS, which was
Yeah.
not just a drugstore. Sorry, it's completely different. It's not, it stands for concurrent version systems. And it was one step above emailing files back and forth. So people it stored the files, it like made their file names funny on disk, but it was its own version control system. And they did have a lock command. So when you wanted to edit something, you had to like lock it, or it would lock it for you when you checked it out, and then no one else could edit it until you checked it back in. And that's how they handled this git pull merge thing. So it's, you know, it's a really good question what you asked. And internally, who knows what it does, since Git doesn't let you lock files. I think that if Amari had edited this file and then he or someone else pushed a change to remote main in another window, and then they went back to save conflicting changes, it would have showed up as a conflict, or the GitHub website would not know what to do with it and kind of like flag an error and like throw up or something. So who knows? It's a very, yeah, it's a surprisingly deep question. That's yeah, so good. It's a good question. Don't let your questions out. But there are no conflicts here.
Make a pull request to the original repo.
Yeah, let's try clicking on.
I need to
Try clicking on the codewithfriends.dev link, which is just the root of your fork. Yeah, that one would work. And yeah, you'll see this little gray bar, and it's not as obvious as it used to be. You used to have this like green button that shows up right away saying create pull request, but in the gray bar where it says this branch is one commit ahead of Detroit Code with Friends main. So Detroit Code with Friends main is the upstream repo, the one that was forked from. And then if you click on contribute with the drop-down arrow, I think the one option or the only option is open pull request. So that's the one you want. And I don't know why it's behind a drop-down, but maybe they felt like they wanted to give you even more information that would have disrupted the UI. So they put it in a little window. Yeah, that's great. So the best commit logs are short, and then I don't think we really need to leave a longer comment. It's perfect. So it's yeah, so you can create pull request.
This is under pull request, I see. Commit to Detroit Code with Friends main from Amari Code's main.
Yeah.
Review required. Merging is blocked until there's a review.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go ahead and make you a committer and admin as well to the repo. And if you wanted to, you could approve your own pull request, but as a matter of form, it's usually best to ask someone else to do it, just because, like we said before, many eyes catch things. So, and this is not a controversial change, but it's, I guess, like what would be useful to improve this exercise even more is to have the person whose profile you're updating approve it, and then, you know, they can give you feedback and say like, oh, you got it right, you nailed it, you got me perfectly. Or they'll be like, nah, man, you don't know me at all, you weren't listening, I don't feel heard.
Were you even here?
That's right. I'm gonna send you the therapy bill.
Why does this always happen to me?
That's oh wow, this went to a deep place very quickly.
Charlie Brown.
Oh, that's the original. Yeah, he's the master. I feel like I'm gonna watch some existential dread. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT, you know, write a Charlie Brown comic by Nietzsche.
Oh wow,
something, or Sartre.
That would be
something.
interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so
How would Nietzsche write a Charlie Brown comic strip?
yeah, I don't know enough about Nietzsche to know. I was just like thinking of some philosopher that I thought was like very serious. Add people. Yeah, so I'm gonna add Imari. It says outside collaborator. I don't know how to make you an inside collaborator. And then Moose, can you type us your GitHub username if you don't mind, please? Again, I know I'm outing people, so I'm hoping that if you have a GitHub username, you kind of like want more people to know about code that you write, which is not always true, but usually
I
is.
feel like Moose is Moose here still?
Moose is on Zoom, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
No, he signed off of, or they signed off of.
No, they're back.
Oh, hey Moose. So we're sorry you can't watch any of the screen share. So I guess you're just listening to us tell dad jokes. And it's not, it's an experience. I'm not saying it's the best way to spend your Sunday night, but it's passing. The time is definitely passing. I can say that with certainty. Can you give us your GitHub username? If you like, you can type it into the chat, and if so, I'll add you as an admin to our repo. And if it's not your thing tonight, that's okay too. Who else? I think Ryan, you're already.
I think so.
Nope, you're not. You're not. I'm gonna add you. Is your GitHub username also Vandy?
Vandalin 586.
Oh, is that your what? Ryan Vandalinder? Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Now I'm gonna have to scrub. That's your real name that I've.
No, it's okay.
So if you check your email or you refresh your GitHub page and you see the notification bell at the top, it will say invite, pending invite or something. And
Yeah, it says organization.
yeah.
Accepted.
Nice.
But I think I am gonna go take a shower and go to bed.
That's totally fair. We've been at this for a while, so we can leave this for another time. Yeah.
I don't want to spoil the party, but
Well, no, I think we're a little behind. We're a little behind schedule. We were going to wrap up in 30 minutes anyway, and Amari and I were going to unstake our Mochi and maybe confab about coordination games. And but the whole evening's theme was sort of like how to feel like more of a team, how to like collaborate on projects. And as you can see, it's a very simple question, and we totally came up with a quick answer that will solve it for all time, and we'll never need to talk about it again. So just watch the video. And
Of course.
no, I'm kidding. We're probably going to talk about this for we'll talk about how to collaborate for the rest of our lives, and that would be fine. So yeah, I excuse you. You're excused from class. You have a hall pass to go shower. Imari will write you a hall pass to go shower. He's probably kicked students out for being unwashed and smelly.
well, it's Sunday, and you know what tomorrow morning is, and that's no fun for anybody.
I hear you. Well, it's good seeing you.
Yeah, no, you too. It was great. Yeah, I've never done a pull request. It sounds funny, but we just operated the Wild Wild West way when we did what we did.
Yeah.
And I'm learning best practice is probably a better way going forward.
Yeah, I mean, this is overkill for what we're using it for, and it's overkill for a lot of projects. We could have just
good habit.
Yeah. So see you next time, man.
I'll see you.
Later, Ryan.
Bye.
Well, before we move on to the next part of our show, which is unstaking Mochi and talking about Mochi and ice cream balls of all kinds. Yeah, what else? Yeah, and does this exercise bring any thoughts up for anyone else? Do they want to talk about it?
No, no, it was new to me. Like, I haven't, I guess I've kind of done it, but I feel like I understand it a little bit better. This is the workflow, of how to do this, forking and all that, and pushing. I wasn't really totally clear on the whole process of that, like how you would actually fork something and submit it. So our repo, the repo is already automatically set that when someone pushes. Well, no. It's set so that the approval thing is the thing you set, right? Like in the profile for the repo that like, hey, commits or have to be like, how does that safeguard against just kind of like someone being able to push in? Is that a setting that you set there? That things have to be approval, like the level of approval or whatever it needs?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the last time I touched the settings, I clicked protect branch. So that's a question, a very dire sounding question they asked you, like, do you want to protect your main branches or do you want to be unprotected? So they make it sound very dramatic. And I was like, oh, of course. I mean, I don't want to leave my branches unprotected. And what it used to be is that people could force push onto your branch, which means that in an emergency, even though there's no like direct chain of commits to get from where the head is, which is the tip of the main branch, there's no clear chain of commits to get from the current head to where you want it to be. But let's say, it's an emergency, everyone's waiting on you to deploy the website, the CEO's, about to fire you. You can get push force, and that will just stomp all over the existing commit and just say like, okay, this is just a new commit. We don't know how it's related. It's just like an emergency measure. And to prevent that from happening, you can protect it. And so I did protect. And so I think that's why it's automatically requiring approval, or it could be another setting as well. Yeah, there are a lot of different settings, but you're an admin, and I think you're able to approve the pull request, but it could be that someone has to approve it, maybe that's just like a setting that's on by default. And if I dug around in the repo settings, I could find where that's set. But I think it's a good practice. I think you usually should have a review. And
yeah, I agree. It's probably a good habit not to, proofread your own work, so to speak, like that you should have somebody, even if you could, that you should probably not approve your own pull request, just so that people are aware, someone's aware of it, and you got somebody else to like skim over it. I think that's a good habit.
Yeah. Well, you guys are asking really good questions. So it's in the screen recording video, but if you want to glance at my stream quickly, I pulled up the repo, I looked at settings and branches. There are branch protection rules, and exactly what you were referring to, these checkboxes. I thought it was a very like casual, like a simple thing, but there are like a ton of, there's like 20 checkboxes of ways you can protect your branch. And the main one at the top is require a pull request before merging. So don't just allow people to like YOLO push onto the branch, not even force push, what I was talking about, which is a advanced Jedi move. But the normal push, don't do it. Don't let people do it automatically. Require a pull request, and then require approval. So that's like a sub checkbox. And so everything you mentioned, that in the pull request, when you open it up, and before you just saw a green button, green means go, clear skies, and then you saw these red notices that said, approval required, something else required, and that didn't used to be there. And that's because I had this branch protection set.
Mhm.
Okay, I feel like we beat a dead horse. So yeah, Moose, it could be that not enough RAM. It's true. There's a lot of video codecs and they usually require hardware acceleration. And that's a interesting topic for another time too, is like Zoom definitely uses up like a ton of processing power. Yeah, like if I open up, it even says like your stream is still running. We've paused this preview to save your resources. So Discord, screen share uses a ton of resources. Zoom is using 24% of my CPU, which is not nothing. So these are all pretty beefy things, and it's a good question of like whether we could make anything better in the future. There's yeah, that's the thing we can work on for other websites. I know there's like web recordings, and there's an API called Media Capture API that lets you capture things that are being rendered. I wanted to experiment with it to make animated GIFs out of animations like CSS animations or WebGL animations. And yeah, so I wonder if there's like a modern web way that's more efficient than screen sharing that we're doing. Because it is like, you know, it is intensive, and because it's intensive, it's prohibitive to people participating. So, and Discord uses 2 gigs of RAM. Yeah, that seems unreasonable. That could be all Electron apps. Okay, well, let's move on. It's okay if you didn't get to participate, but if you would like to, we can do it some other time for sure. And we'll upload the video, and hopefully you'll get a sense of how it might work. And it's all a process. So some people asked about Web3 wallets. Maybe I asked myself about it. Maybe I planted this question. So I'm using Frame, which Dispulik told me about, which I really like, but it's like an airplane cockpit. It's like super complex. It's got all these dials and bells and whistles and like super big buttons, and it's diversifies the client so that you don't have a monoculture of everyone using MetaMask. And so there's a vulnerability in MetaMask where they decide to show you ads, obnoxious ads or something. You don't want them to control all the shots in the Web3 ecosystem, which is supposed to be all about decentralization. So that's why mine is in Frame, and in Frame you can have different chains. So the chain we're using is a layer 2 of Ethereum called Optimism, which is supposed to be lower gas fees. You know, they typically it's like 1 cent each, which is much better than dollars or tens of dollars. And the coordination game that we were playing is called Mochi. And I invite Amari, if you feel like doing it now, it's okay if you don't, to open up your Mochi profile, mochi.game. And if you haven't done so already, because it's been over a week, or maybe exactly a week, we bonded. So we deposited some of our hard-earned Magic Internet money into this contract, this automatic contract. And we played a game where it slashed us. So I used to have a paper I really didn't want to write. It was like, you know, a thesis. And I paid someone off of TaskRabbit $20 every day I didn't write 2 pages. And the idea was to slash, like to give myself some pain if I didn't meet this goal, which was good for me in the long term, but just like, you know, day to day, I would do anything to avoid it. And it worked. I think I ended up paying this TaskRabbit maybe like $100 total. So like I really flubbed it for 5 days. It must have been, but I got it done. and Mochi is kind of the same. And I also flubbed it this time too. I think I got slashed, and your team members get slashed too. So Sue got annoyed with us. Amari was too good natured. Amari's too good natured to ever voice his annoyance, but I probably cost him some number of dollars, maybe $10 each. So I will definitely pay that back. So the bond is the original deposit, and the slash less the slashes. So the slashes go to a treasury, and that's part of this other cool mechanism where if you're a member of Mochi, you can decide what to do with the slashed funds. And it's actually smart because it is kind of like the future of remote work. So you want to feel connected to your remote teammates. You're not in the same place. And so, and I did feel more connected to Sue and Amari, and I worked more on the pair programming website. Still not as much as I wanted to, but it happened. It happened during like tax season when I was busy procrastinating on other things. So this definitely got my attention, and I pushed my luck many times. So I was like, oh, I'm going to wait until 10 at night, which is the last moment that you can check in. You have to check in every day with what you did and these questions like how you were feeling. And I waited until I got something done that I was satisfied with for the day. And sometimes I waited so long it tipped over the 10 p.m. mark and I got slashed. And then other times I just like felt bad and fell asleep or forgot about it. Anyway, I thought it was better than nothing. I liked it a lot, and I'm interested in Amari. I think you have your own experience about what you thought about it.
Yeah, looks like I ended with a 82% report rate. Nice, sounds about right. Yeah, it was like it definitely kept. You know what? I'll tell you what. This is what it is. It didn't keep my goals in the front of my mind as much as it kept not pissing the most of you off in front of my mind. Like I wasn't
say that
thinking
again.
every day. Like I was more concerned with not getting slashed than I was with doing my goal. You know, I mean, the goal stayed. The goal was my goal anyway. I was working on it every day, and I would have been with or without this. So my relationship to the experience was more about every day at 11 o'clock saying, "Oh God, did I report today?" And then if I did, I'm like, "Oh, that's right, I did that already." I was almost more focused on the game of not getting slashed rather than it causing me to focus more on my goal. You know, I don't know if it had the intended effect on me in terms of my relationship to my goal. It was more about a relationship with not getting a slash or causing my team members harm because I got a slash, you know?
Yeah.
So as far as like a motivator to actually do the actions for my goal, it didn't really work for me in that way psychologically.
I remember you saying, I remember you saying it did make you feel like you were part of a team, or it wouldn't. I mean, you're already like a pretty motivated person, in my opinion. And I guess what you were saying is it didn't motivate you more than you would have worked on it anyway. Is that kind of what you meant?
Well, say that again.
You're already motivated to work on the project, and I think you said somewhere else that Mochi didn't motivate you much more or at all more than you would have been doing it anyway.
Yeah. I don't think I didn't pick a task, a goal that was something I'm resistant to.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, I was, and even though I had a goal of by the end of this journey to have something done. Well, here's what I did have a bigger goal of, working on. It was spend 2 hours daily working on my web portfolio project. And that's what I did. But it ended up being working on one of those projects the entire journey. And I spent way more than 2 hours.
Yeah, I could tell.
And I finished one. I got one of them finished. Like it's put to bed for. I mean, it's got work, but it's minimal viable product done. And that's what something I've been trying to do for months. It's finally done. So I guess I kind of had the end of this journey as a target to say, well, if I do anything, I'm gonna at least finish one of these projects. So, but it kind of made a hard date for me to say, okay, this journey ends on this date and I want to be done by then. So, and that way I guess it helped focus me a bit. But I could set a deadline anytime, you know, it's arbitrary. I could have said, without Mochi, I could have said, I want this done by X date, you know, which I had been doing for the past 3 months. And it's just done when it's done. I don't know if it just happened to coincide with the end of the journey, because if it wasn't done, I'd still be working on it right now, with or without Mochi. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if, I don't think I would do it again. And there's no real accountability for when you don't do something. So I didn't work 2 hours a day. I still have to report. I don't get slashed. Like, you were paying $20 when you didn't do the thing. The penalty in this game is for not reporting, but I could be reporting that I didn't do anything and I'm still not getting slashed. I'm still, you know what I mean? So there's no penalty for not doing things that you set as your goal every day.
Yeah.
Or not meeting a target. So you could totally not meet your target and still, quote unquote, win the game because you've filed your report every day.
Well, it's pretty
yeah.
flexible. I think you're right. There's a disconnect where the mechanism that you're measuring could be not the actual doing of the thing. The person that I was paying, the task route I was paying, didn't know whether I really wrote 2 pages of my thesis or not. It was totally self-reported. And maybe I was like masochistic in some ways, where I like really wanted to punish myself if I knew I didn't do it. But I think it's okay. A lot of people play Mochi and they have very simple goals like sleep a lot, and they check in 1-word check-ins. And I'm not saying any of us would do this. I think we played the game full out, like, and you really full out. So to even get one project done to the extent that I saw the reading app, I think it's great. So for sure, you set your own standards and hold yourself up to them, and like, you're your own trainer, and you can be your own worst critic or your own best critic or your own, best friend on these things. And I think it's a great standard. And I don't think you are giving.
If I could like fork this game and like make my own changes to the idea, I'd add a kind of peer review component where the determination of your progress, if it's that type of measurable goal, I guess it has to be, but the determination about whether you're successful is by your teammates. And you have to show somebody something, that, hey, here's what really happened. I know if it's like a sleep goal, that's kind of hard to prove, but I think having to report to people is just a lot more high stakes than reporting to a bot, for just how human behavior works,
Yeah. I mean, the people were nudging or like bitching for not checking in. So that part was nice. That was like the actual, you knew a human was on the other side of this message reminding you, so that we didn't get all slashed. But that is interesting.
But they weren't nagging me about not doing my project. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
No, it's like Sue never texted me and said, how's your project? Or did you work on your project today? It was like, don't get slashed. That's what I mean. Like, the focus becomes about not getting slashed, which is not really the greater point of it, which it seems to be a natural outcome of the way the game is designed, that of course you're going to lose money if you get slashed, and that becomes, a focus of your attention as far as the game is concerned,
Yeah.
So
there are times whenever I didn't remind you, and we were just like in a chat where you were like showing how you were deploying your project on Google Cloud or something. So I could tell you were getting a ton done. And then like later that night you forgot to check in, and I didn't, I wasn't fussed because I was like, oh, but like the whole point was that he wanted to work on it, get work done on the project, and he did. And that was that's better. That's kind of like not recording a run. Like let's say you like keep a chart and you like want to check off every time you do exercise or something, and then you did the exercise but you forgot to check it off, and then your score might be lower, but you know you did the exercise. So I think that's a good result, intrinsic scorecard.
Yeah, definitely a lot to think about, you know, in terms of goal setting. It forces you to think about some of those things, like how you operate, what motivates you, you know, what the best method is to motivate. Maybe you'll find something about it motivates you, and you might find a new path to get yourself moving through this. I think it's overall useful. You know, I think it just depends on the person and how they're approaching it, and also what your goal is. You know, certain goals are more easier measured, you know, in terms of outcomes than other goals are. So yeah, you know, all in all, not a bad experience. I'm not mad at it.
Would you do it again though? That's the $50 question.
No.
Huh. Good. I like the honesty.
No. Okay. Let me. I would only do it again if I were working with a group and we were all working on the same goal, like a project. And so that when you did things, it was directly relevant to what I was doing. And when you didn't do things, then I'd be texting you, not really just about the goal would keep us in line and on pace maybe, but our focus between each other would more about, okay, we're working on a common goal here, and your contribution is my contribution and vice versa, or my lack of it also affects you, not just the slash monetarily, but in terms of what we're really trying to accomplish here. I think it will be good for that kind of, you know, that kind of experience where you're all sharing the same. So yeah, that's, and that if it was some kind of that context, I think I'd be a little bit more game.
Yeah. I remember you reading that, and that's partly why we're here tonight. By the way, I hope I'm not congratulating ourselves too much. I think this is the best meeting that we've had so far, at least from my point of view, in terms of like us discussing important things and like people feeling part of the group activity. And yeah, and that's why tonight I'm thinking like, how can we work on the same thing? How can people express their interests and find the same project? What's the right way? Like if we had a magical project manager who like found people's complementary skills and like prioritized, you know, like a sprint backlog. Like if you get into corporate software, you'll know about agile programming where there's like a burn down chart and like a backlog of tasks, and you're kind of like every 2 weeks you have a sprint and you're just trying to burn through these sticky notes that you move from one side of the wall to the other. You may have seen it in like Silicon Valley or other shows that make fun of the corporate software life, but that, you know, that's it's someone who's dedicated to managing the project. And can we do that for ourselves? Are there like systems we could set up where you could like see what needs to be done, you like do a little bit, it matches your skills and your interest, and then you communicate with your teammates that you did your part, and they can if they're doing something that depends on it, you know, they're unblocked now is the agile word. And then yeah, it's not an easy problem. So yeah. Do you have and I know we're close to time, but do you have any thoughts about how you would enjoy doing it? Like, well, I mean, first of all, is that yeah, I guess I'm kind of rambling. What comes up for you in thoughts and feelings from what I said, if you don't mind sharing?
Are you asking me?
Anyone? Yeah. If
just about the experience this evening, how we did it this evening.
or I guess like going forward, what can we do to be our own project manager? Like, yes, you know, the ideal experience is where we're like working on the same project and we feel like we're part of a team and all of our pieces fit together. And, you know, we were in a hackathon and like Sue was doing the design and Ashley was doing the marketing. And then me and Techie T, who was another coder, were doing the coding. And we got into some pretty good grooves. And I guess like, should we be trying to do that in Code with Friends? Like, should we pick one project and all like do it? And then how would we sort of divide up the work and make it run smoothly?
I don't think that's probably the best way to maximize individuals' time, because, you know, I mean, learning everything is kind of good. I mean, it's helpful, you know, like I'm always, when I was sitting in on things I had no clue about early on when I first joined, I would stay on. Part of me would be like, I need to go learn about stuff I don't know about. Like, I don't know about this, I'm not gonna, but it's still in a general way helped, because the terms would come up, words, and I'd be Googling words later. And what was that they were talking about? And it did open up a lot of doors and pathways. But day to day, like, I think people want to come and work on their stuff. Like, they, you know, not that they wouldn't be helping other people, but sometimes if you're helping somebody that's doing something related to what you're doing, that's helpful too. But, you know, there's so many spheres to be a part of in this. You know, you could be in cybersecurity, you could be in DevOps, you know, all this different front end development or databases. There's so much that it spreads it thin when everyone's kind of like, we're all going to focus on this, and maybe 50% of the people or 60%, depending, may not really be on that path. And so it's, I hate to say it's a waste of time, but it's maybe not the best use of their time. So I think we should continue to develop some kind of system that matches people with projects, similar tech stacks they're working with, and skill levels. I think people would get more out of that. And I think that's probably, you know, should continue to be like a central focus as we develop the site and what the culture of the server is that, you know, it's come here and, you know, learn, you know. And the best way to do that, I think, is to match skill level. It makes, I know, like, as a teacher, you know, it was like we would group kids, you know, according to skill level. You know, there's something, this Russian educator from back in the day, researcher Vygotsky, had this term he made up called the zone of proximal development, which basically meant that there's a point where things, say, imagine there's 3 levels. There's one where you're totally ignorant of the skill. Then in the middle, where you're capable, you know, you're capable at it with some help, scaffolding. And then there's another level where it's too hard. I'm kind of saying this wrong, but there's a level where it's so hard that you're not going to get anything out of it. And then there's a level where you can do a little bit, and like you just need a little help. And then there's a level where it's, you know, it's too easy. It's too easy, and you're not going to learn anything. So you kind of want to get people in that zone where there's just enough that they don't know that they can learn something, and it's not so easy that they already know everything. So that's about how you match up. You want to match up people that are in the same zone, you know, that are, you know, and maybe, you know, having somebody maybe join that's more experienced.
Oh no, I think I lost you.
Focus meeting of that group or that project, where should have them as learners in that zone where it's not too hard that they can't do it at all, but it's just hard enough. So then that's really about having this database or matching system to put these people together, or for people to be able to find each, you know. So yeah.
Ooh, tons of good stuff. Thank you for this link. I'm going to be doing some reading about Vygotsky's zone of proximal development and scaffolding. I brought up, as you were talking, I did Google search, which is like kind of a cool thing we can do during screen shares. It's not just about code, but just showing, bringing up websites and references. And I'm looking at a bullseye image of what I can't do on the outer circle, what I can do with help in the middle circle, and then what I can do. And then the middle circle is the zone of proximal development, ZPD, what needs to be done to take the learner where he or she or they need to be. And yeah, I guess like bridging, I guess this is what scaffolding maybe is like what allows you to cross this middle circle. And I guess in my mind, I'm imagining when we have like many more members, so that's like an argument. It could be an argument for opening us up to community mode, because imagine we have like 100 active people on this server or 1,000, and now all of our problems with focus are worse or better, because now like there's 100 different interests, and maybe it's more easy to find someone with compatible interests, and then maybe it's also easier to find someone who wants to lead or be led on a project. And we can have like a graph or a visualization that like sorts people into different directions. Like maybe there's a database track, maybe there's a Twilio track. Someone mentioned they wanted to learn Twilio, which is a text messaging API. And it could be made easier if you have more people, but then you also make it easy. People that don't feel like they're missing out. Because I think right now, this happens to me too. I'm on a server, I see people in the voice channel, I see Duke and Despulik working on Next.js, or Brian, I think like, oh, that's cool. Or you, Amari, I see what you're able to do with Next.js, and I'm like, oh, I want to learn that. And I like drop whatever I'm doing to learn that. And it's a real thing. And if we have like 100 people, it's always going to seem cool, especially like other people talking in the moment and excited, which is great. You want to encourage people to be excited, but then their excitement is infectious and you want to change your focus to what they're doing too. So that's very interesting. Does Vygotsky, or have you read anything about focusing groups? I mean, I guess there's a curriculum. Usually there's a fixed curriculum and people don't have freedom of choice. But in some independent schools, all students are free to choose. And then that seems like it could be chaos, which is maybe an advantage to having a fixed curriculum.
Yeah, those also aren't huge public thousands of kids in the system. They kind of have you'll find that's more at schools that have the luxury of that type of choice.
Yeah, you're right. It is a
Uber versus the public bus, private schools like the Uber, the smaller schools, private schools, etc. They'll drive you right up to your house and let you get out. But they're moving small groups of people. But if you got a mass transit people through education, you can't stop at everybody's house. You gotta stop close to it, near it, and then you gotta walk the rest of it. It's just a fact of life. So that whole idea of, I'm gonna choose what I want to do, that's independent study, and that'd be a nightmare for a teacher with 37 students.
Yeah, I hear that. I'm getting stressed out even just like thinking about it. But you're right, this is a whole other conversation about AI learning. Like how can you have this personalized tutor which always knows where you're at, what the right pace is, what style or metaphors you like. And maybe we're at the cusp now where each child, regardless of their socioeconomic background, could have access to an AI tutor. I hope so. That'd be a dream.
I think that will inevitably come. If someone's working on it now, I'm sure.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
Oh, by the way, one more thing on that. I put a link in the chat there. This is the site this is the closest I've seen we've been about.
Oh.
And I never used it. It's actually defunct now. Like last year or something, they took it offline or for whatever, maybe lost funding or something, but they got pretty far with developing this whole network, which is what was doing what we're talking about, which is matching up people based on skill levels and interests in projects. And there's more reading of, maybe in the archive, there's more, like they wrote about the history of it in there, I think. And like I was reading just like, you know, how it evolved, how the funding, and I don't know why it went away, but it seemed pretty heavily developed for a minute.
Yeah, this is amazing. Thank you, Amari. This is it's kind of like, you know, you have a goal, but it's like a paper boat. We're building a paper boat and we're like, oh, we're happy because it's a sunny day and we're gonna sail our paper boat. And then we find this like shipwreck. I'm being overly melodramatic about this, but we like see this like real sized ship that's been like wrecked, and it was like had a lot of resources and like a lot of participants, and it had this nice website and was going on for a while, and probably a documented Medium publication looks like here, and a open collective donation jar. So I really look forward, its own GitHub organization. I look forward to really digging into this and seeing what we can learn, because it could be whatever problems they have will run into, or we just decide to stay small forever, or something else. Option 3.
Yeah. And it's open, the code base is open source, you know, GitHub. You can download the whole source code.
Yeah.
So I haven't looked at it, but that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, they look like they had different curricula. One is on Vue instead of React as the framework. One is on serverless, which is cool. I know that's, some people have been encountering that with Vercel and Next, and yeah, this is awesome. This is a mid-size ship. This is a mid-size project. It wouldn't be like a Odin project or a Free Code Camp, which are, you know, phenomenal runaway successes that have their own chain reaction. Like if it were a nuclear reaction, it's already like achieved critical mass. But yeah, maybe we can reach out to them. Maybe the advice for us, maybe some of them want to collaborate with us. And yeah.
They had like a calendar set up where, you know, if you're looking at their README, you know, you see these little cards and they're like, upcoming in 5 minutes, working on JavaScript animations, you know, these, I don't know if they're doing it through maybe Google Hangouts maybe, but they were scheduled. So you'd say, oh, you know, at 4 o'clock, Julie's working on XYZ. I can join that and just watch them work. And, you know, you didn't have to like, you know, go into a thread or scroll up down through Discord type of things. It was all very visual there for you. And you could easily click a button and create one of these events, which you can do in Discord. And yeah, it just was a really, really slick architecture and setup they had for this. I'd love to know what happened to it.
Yeah, maybe it's in these videos. So it sounds like you were a participant and you saw what the visual user interface or the user experience was. Oh, okay.
No, I only found this, we were talking about this recently. It's already offline by then. So I've never participated. I'm just reading the README stuff.
Yeah. Cool. Well, never a dull moment. We definitely have a lot to talk about for next time, and I hope we get to it. How do you feel about unstaking from Mochi, and then signing off still with like tons of fiery cognitive thoughts for next time?
Oh,
I don't even know if I.
I think I look.
Hey, Duke.
Bug I have.
Yeah. Did you since and Moose, feel free to share words also. We'll try and read your words also. Maybe Moose is asking what city or where physically Code Buddies was at. But Duke, did you have a response or something that came up for you?
No, I'm trying to code this thing. I'm like really stuck. I have like multiple different ways to figure this out. I can
Oh,
I don't
nice.
know how to proceed.
So while we're waxing philosophical, Duke is the only one writing real code here.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I love
Yeah.
philosophy to some degree.
Yeah. No worries.
But-
Well, let's I'll try and unstake later tonight if I can figure out. If I can figure out.
When you grab like the bond section,
Yeah.
there's a little toggle that instead of bond, it says withdraw. If you click on bond with Mochi,
I see.
it'll be on that bonding page and you can withdraw. Yeah.
Thanks, Mari. You got me. It's it makes me realize how often you can be hesitant to do something. You're all on the nice edge and you could do it, you could not do it, and then someone helping you just like pushes you all the way. So I was like, not gonna do it tonight, but now it's done.
Just click, click.
No, it's
Yeah, I
done.
know, right?
Okay. Nice. Okay. Well, I did get slashed more than I thought, or also could be the value of ETH went down since we staked. But we're gonna get matching optimism, and that could take a week, maybe. I think in Dispuluk's experience, and that would more than make up for our slashes. So hopefully that will, like, you know, our hurt pride and stinging wounds will be solved by 60% match of optimism. Good. Well, I might still do it again, maybe with Dispuluk, maybe with other people, but I am also Duke, if you would like to screen share, we can. Yeah, let's.
I think I'm running into the same problem that most Discord doesn't run. It's taking up too much RAM on my laptop. Let me see how much RAM is being used.
Yeah, if you want, you can screen share, or you can just describe it to us auditorily. If you were to perform this as a musical,
Okay.
what would the sound of your computer probably be?
Hey, Moose Duke, Paul, I'm out of here going to bed like old man style.
That makes sense.
All right.
We've spent more than
Good
enough of
night.
your time. So good seeing you, Amari. We'll see you next time.
Later, everybody.
So we have. So essentially, there's a message board. The messages get sent to MongoDB, and I retrieve. Okay, well, what gets stored in MongoDB is just the title, the content or the text, a timestamp, and the sender. But the sender is stored by the unique ID from the user model. Because there's a user that sends the message. It's stored with reference to the user using his object ID, his or her or whatever. But then now to displaying this in EJS, I can get the timestamp, the title, and the content of the message with no problem. But getting the user name is, I don't know how, because I can retrieve the object ID from MongoDB, but using that object ID to get to the username of that document using that relates to that user ID, I do not know how to do that.
Okay.
Give me
So,
a reason on
so-
my
so,
explanation,
yeah.
technical.
yeah. So every entity, I guess it's called a table in other databases, has a unique ID, and you're saying that there's a user table or a user entity, and you have the ID, and you want to get a field associated with it, which is its name, like a string description.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but through EJS, in the EJS, or make it accessible to an EJS file. We'll pass it in through the route, maybe.
Okay, can you show the part of your code? Like right now I'm looking at the Discord voice channel, but Do you have a VS
Me,
Code or a
yeah.
code sandbox?
Oh, actually, if you don't mind, open my GitHub. I think this thing it's up to date. It should be the exact same code.
Yeah, move. Sorry, I don't
Which
know. I don't know if we're gonna get
sandbox.
firewalls tonight, but if it's IP tables, I kind of know how to configure it. And I think UFW is a lot easier. Like UFW has like UFW enable or allow port. And also while I'm working with Duke on the Mongoose, I want to encourage you to use ChatGPT as the bot. So you can type, in the bot channels where we keep it, just to avoid polluting the channels with too much noise. You can say, like Bang AI and how do you configure firewall using UFW to do like network address translation, to do a NAT, I guess. I don't even know if that question makes sense, but you can ask any question and ChatGPT will like do its best, and you should double check it.
Try using find.com with a PH. It's a AI search engine for developers. I found it helpful.
Yeah, that's right. So Dispulik and Duke have been using this well, and it helped me a lot with 3JS. It was really good. So findphind.com. I'll post the link to it.
They have like different, like expert mode, or you can even throw in your own code for more context if you have to. They have an expert mode. So it's slower, but it gives you expert tailored answers.
Okay, so which repo is it?
No, members only.
Okay, and have you ever been able to extract a field or print a variable in EJS? Is that sort of where you're stuck, or is it specifically this field? Like you're able to print another variable of EJS, but just not the user's name?
Yeah. The other variables I am able to print, but this one it's because I gotta go through the ID to reach another document. I just don't know how to do that.
Okay, so it sounds like
Usually
maybe
you
you're
can
doing.
just pass them in.
Say what?
Huh? Oh no, usually I can just pass them in through the route. Like you do like a find query and it returns all of them. And then you can just access all of them like that. But with this one, all I can access is an object ID, but I don't want the object ID. I want the username of that object ID.
I see. So I guess, like, correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you want to do a join. Like you have one table that gives you a user ID field, and then you want to use that as the key into a second table for user ID and username. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like what you want?
Kind of. With Mongo, I think they call it a document, or I think it's like an entry. So yeah, I have an object ID of another, and it's a reference to another document. As you can see, I was just trying to mess around with it, trying to get it working at the bottom. Message.sender. Sender is one of the inputs. But if you go and see, well, these sender inputs are just object IDs to another document. They reference another document. And if a message.sender only gives you that object ID, but I want the username of said object ID. which I do not know how to access through EJS. If it was like through JavaScript, it'd probably be easier, but I need a way to pass that into EJS.
Yeah, well, the general approach is that EJS lets you can substitute in variables, and in this case, you have a variable called messages, and then you're able to iterate over them with like .for each and pass in a lambda. But overall, you have a variable called messages, and it's being passed into this view from the controller. So following the model view controller paradigm, and so all the joins that you want to do, like you have a user ID from one query, and you want to query again into another table to get the user name. All of that you have to do in the controller. So you don't do that. I think that's too much. It may not even be possible to do in the view, but that's stuff that is meant to be done in the controller, which is why they separate the concerns. So
if you go to routes
yeah,
and then open index in routes,
yeah,
and this is where the messages come from. So it's a query into all of them that returns all the messages. And I pass in all the messages into EJS at the line 12. Line 10 and 11 make the query, and then line 12 passes in the results from that query.
yeah. I can see you're definitely, when you render the view called index, you're passing in a variable called messages, and you're also passing in the user from the request. So I think that's a URL parameter, and maybe that's the ID, right? Is that what you're saying? Like rec.user is an ID, and you actually want to get the name associated with that ID, and then to pass that into the view instead.
No, so in the messages, there's 4 entries: the timestamp, the title of the message, and the content, and the sender. So when I save, so if you go to the file in the routes into messages, if you want to see it like physically, but if you go down a little bit, okay, as you can see, sender is the user. And line 15, sender is set to the user _ID, which is the unique ID of the person that hits that submit button, of essentially the person who sends the message. So it gets stored as a long random string. But that long random string references another object which has that user's username. So it's like the message and the user are different models or schemas.
Yeah,
if I'm making sense.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So this user comes from the request, and so you're constructing a new schema called message, but I saw before you were able to call find or find all, and you want to call something like that, like find on the user table, and give it this user ID. So yeah, let me go back to, okay, so message uppercase M is a table. Where is it defined? I just see it out of no. Oh, here it is. Yeah, okay. So
And set up.
yeah, so I'm going to wonder if there's a way I can like mark this up, but you know, I can just fork it and then give you a suggestion, which is not syntactically correct. Like you should try it and like try and fix problems that come from it, but it's the general approach morally is I think it's in a promising direction. So you have the message table, and then is there one called user as well? Like, can I say capital U user equals mongoose.model user? And And then
that's the other one.
and then you can say like name equals await user dot find, and then the query you want to add now is like ID. So I'm making assumptions that rec.user is of the same form as an ID from the user table, and then
Mhm.
I guess we'll call it it's a good, I guess I can just call it user, and then user name would be user dot well, it's a property. Do you know the schema? Is it just user dot name?
Username. It's a user, so it would be user.username. All lowercase.
And then here, I guess you're passing into the view this object of this map of substitutions, where messages gets mapped to messages, mongoose gets to, well, that's interesting. I've never passed in mongoose itself to the
I was
view,
trying
but-
to run the function inside. So I was trying to create a function where you pass in an ID and it returns the username of the ID, but to no avail.
Oh, I see. You're trying to pass in mongoose and then do it in the view. So that could work. It's kind of awkward. So I'm going to be consistent, I'll just use username lowercase, and then so if that's all you needed mongoose for, I'm going to go ahead and remove it, and then I assume that setup was to do some kind of gymnastics that you can easily do in the controller here and just pass in the variables that you need. So yeah, the general principle is in the controller, do database queries, and most of the heavy lifting, because when you get to the view, you want it to be simple and you want it to be like reflect basically the layout of the page. Just like if you're writing a React component, if you have a bunch of logic in the middle of the layout, it kind of is difficult to tell how the page is going to look out, or if your page display logic is correct. So I prefer to move the control logic out first, and then so now you have something like this, and I'm going to just say
think through was a few are getting using the rec user.rec to get the ID, returning that ID. Use rec to create a username from the schema. But I need this done in the EJS file for each message. So that's where the tricky part comes in.
oh, I see. So each message is a different sender.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. All right. Well, this isn't this is not pretty, but you can process every message and then add messages right now follows the schema, and you want to add something additional to it. So this is not TypeScript, so we don't have to be very particular about types, but I'm going to call these messages with, and are these users the sender? Is that users with messages with sender names? This is kind of verbose, but it I think gets to what you're really after. So
Okay. Messages.
so for each message, you're going to do a query, and this could get expensive. It's a database query of a different ID, and it's going to get the user and then get the username, and then it's going to you could augment the message object with something like this, and then return the message. So that's going to map, it's going to iterate over messages, and it's going to create a new object for each one, which is going to be the same as the message, but then with this extra field, which is sender name, which is going to be taken from this other table. And then you can call this messages with sender name, which is kind of verbose. And now we can say like map each message, augment each message with sender name. And then, for a more longer commit message, you can say by individually querying the user schema for each message's sender ID. And again, you don't have to accept this pull request. It's just there as a record for what we talked about. And then it's cool because you can modify multiple files, not just like one, so that all of your changes that are meant to work together are here. And so now I can go back to views and what is it, index? And now it's called messages. So everywhere you see messages, you just change it to the new variable that's getting passed in from the route, the controller, and then
Where do I see the was that a pull request that you did?
I haven't done a pull request yet. I just forked it. So
Oh.
I need to do like one more change, and then I can send you the pull request.
Awesome.
But so where do you want to display the name? Is it here where there's like a blank?
Yeah, do line 28, just so I can like test it. I'm just trying to get it to work first, and then I can do like the if statements.
Okay, so there's two changes, these two commits here, and yeah, interesting. There's like a bunch of elaborate checks for each commit now. So
Yeah, I see display sender name and figure out how to first time merge. Yeah, just merge.
I wouldn't merge it. I would type the changes yourself individually and understand it, and then also test it. So I just typed it without running it, so I don't know if it worked. So
So I just copy and paste that.
uh,
I don't mind reverting the bag. I just want to put it in my code and test it. Well, let me see. Wait, one. Wait, why was it closed? Something? Reopen it.
well, I guess like my preference is for you to understand the changes and then to like type them from scratch. I can't make you. This is like clearly my pedagogical method, but to I guess like to really test whether you understand what we talked about. And if not, you know, I'll upload the video that talks about it, but I think it's most beneficial if you understand the change first, and then you try to duplicate it, even if you're looking at the screen and like copying like every keystroke for keystroke, typing in what you see me type, and then testing it, because, you know, I could be wrong. I'm not actually running this. So it could not compile. It could be, I forgot like a semicolon or a curly brace. So this is the difference between
Sure.
me and Dispulic. Every teacher has their own preference. So that's like I said, I can't make you, but that's that is my recommendation to you.
I can see, okay, I can't see message with users. So you map over, create a new array using, and then you create a query, and then you access that query username, message, username, message, and it quotes sender name equals username. And sender name, sender name in quotes, message, sender name equals username. Okay, I see you trying to return message. Oh, it's sender name. What's this variable equal to? Oh no, I mean it's a string though. Messages with username. Return message. Learn what is line 16 or message, and then in brackets you have quote, sender name, quote.
That's augmenting the object with a new field. So objects are just key value pairs, and the way you create a new key value pair in JavaScript is you just assign to it. So like I said, this is not TypeScript where you have to declare the schema beforehand. You can just assign to it, and there's no error checking. Like each message could have different fields that are not strings, that don't match the type, but for, you know, for a simple project, it's people do that. They just like have a convention that they promise themselves to follow, and so this is our convention. We're promising ourselves that we're going to always add a new field called sender name, and it's always going to be, you know, a string, for example. We didn't make that promise, but
I've never seen that syntax.
Yeah, I mean, you can do something similar. You can say message dot sender name equals, so instead of square bracket, in quotes with the with the key name in.
And after message, so you could, this could have been message dot sender name equals username. Okay, that makes sense. Which is essentially assigning a new property to message.
Exactly, you got it.
Yeah. I remember that from one project that I did this Buick. It was a clever way how he pulled off, was the Knight's Travails. He would do the binary where you to put in the move search, it's like create this tree, and then once it gets a combination, it goes back using the property that he assigned. It was pretty cool. It was a clever way.
Don't doubt that he has lots of things to pull out. It's called Knight's Travail. Interesting.
Oh, if you want to see the project, oh yeah, you can see it.
Oh, this is a Odin project.
Oh yeah. Wait, is it here? Let me see if it's in my repository. My gun just called Night.
Yeah, no, the stories are super important, so this is cool. But unfortunately, I cannot tarry tonight. I'm fading, so I'm going to sign off. Good luck. Try the code before you commit it. And
yeah,
yeah,
you.
My pleasure. If you feel free to give an update in the server, letting us know how it worked out.
I'm gonna try finding you the Knight's Travails project so you can see if you want.
Send it to me in Discord. I'll take a look at it tomorrow.
Perfect. I got you.
Okay. Good night,
Good
dude.
night.
Good seeing you.
See ya.